In 1877, Cornelius Vanderbilt dies. He leaves behind a fortune worth over $200 billion in today's money, one of the largest individual fortunes America has ever seen. The kind of wealth that could shape entire industries, cities, and political influence. Yet decades later, his name became less a symbol of power and more a cautionary tale about the fragility of inherited riches. Cornelius was not born into wealth. He grew up on Staten Island in a modest family. His father ran a small boat ferry and did odd jobs enough to survive. At 16, Cornelius borrowed $100 from his mother and purchased a small ferry to transport passengers across New York Harbor. That tiny investment marked the beginning of a relentless drive that would create one of the greatest fortunes in United States history. He worked from dawn to dusk, often sleeping little and refusing breaks. While other boys his age played, he learned the intricacies of pricing, customer trust, and navigation. In just a few years, that single ferry grew into a small fleet of steamships. Cornelius was not content with incremental growth. He saw opportunity, and he acted aggressively. Railroads emerged as the new frontier. In the mid-1800s, the U.S. economy was expanding rapidly, and control of transportation meant control of commerce. Cornelius began purchasing struggling rail lines, merging them, and consolidating routes. By 1867, he controlled the New York Central Railroad, a network connecting major cities and moving goods across the Northeast. His business acumen was unmatched. In his lifetime, he turned a $100 loan into an empire worth $100 million at the time, over $200 billion today. That fortune would place him among the richest individuals in human history. But building wealth is only part of the story. Preserving it requires an entirely different skill set, and this is where the Vanderbilts faltered. The next generations inherited an unimaginable fortune. Instead of growing businesses or creating new income streams, they focused on consuming wealth. They spent it on opulence that defied logic. The Biltmore estate in North Carolina became a symbol of extravagance. Spanning 250 rooms and over 175,000 square feet, its construction costs would equal hundreds of millions today. Then there was the Breakers in Newport, Rhode Island, a mansion built to outshine everything else in the Gilded Age. These houses required dozens of staff cooks, gardeners, chauffeurs, security, and personal attendants, all paid lavishly. Maintaining the properties alone drained millions annually. Luxury was not limited to property. The Vanderbilts hosted grand parties attracting America's elite. One 1883 costume ball reportedly cost the equivalent of several $1 million in today's money. Guests dressed in elaborate historical costumes arriving by private railcar or yacht. Art collections, jewelry, and personal treasures accumulated faster than anyone could count. Private yachts traveled between New York, Europe, and the Mediterranean, requiring full crews and constant maintenance. Every item, every event, every indulgence became a small leak in an ocean of money, and there was no system to stop it. Financial records indicate that by the early 20th century, assets were already being sold to sustain this lifestyle. Properties were auctioned, mansions converted into museums, or demolished entirely because upkeep was unsustainable. By 1973, a family reunion of over 100 descendants revealed a shocking reality: none of them retained billionaire status. One of the greatest fortunes in American history had nearly disappeared, reduced to stories of a bygone era and photographs of empty estates. Contrast this with families like the Rockefellers. John D. Rockefeller built Standard Oil, eventually controlling roughly 1.5% of the U.S. economy. His fortune survives today, over a century later, managed with precision and foresight. The difference was not merely luck, it was structure, discipline, and adherence to rules designed to preserve wealth across generations. The Rockefellers and similar old money families relied on three core principles. First, they created family offices, private institutions, managing all investments, legal affairs, and taxes. Unlike the Vanderbilts, whose heirs made spending decisions individually, these offices treated wealth like a corporation, ensuring that every dollar worked toward growth and protection. Professional managers, analysts, and advisors removed emotion from financial decisions, guarding against reckless spending and market mistakes. Second, they implemented trusts. Heirs did not simply inherit wealth outright. Trusts dictated when and how money could be accessed. Some required that heirs complete higher education before funds were available. Others released money only if recipients started a business or reached a predetermined age. This system ensured responsibility, prevented impulsive spending, and encouraged long-term thinking. Research from the Williams Group Wealth Consultancy shows that families with structured trusts are exponentially more likely to preserve wealth across generations. Finally, the golden rule: never touch the principal. Wealthy families live off returns, interest, dividends, and long-term growth of assets, rather than depleting the original fortune. Stocks, real estate businesses, and diversified portfolios continually generate income, creating a self-sustaining engine. By living off returns, the core wealth remains untouched, compounding over decades and centuries. The lessons extend beyond billionaires. Even families with moderate wealth benefit from structured financial planning. Trusts provide control beyond the will, ensuring that money supports future generations responsibly. Financial literacy programs teach children the value of investing, saving, and long-term decision-making. Without these systems, fortunes, even modest ones, can vanish quickly, as history repeatedly shows. Wealth is not simply earned, it is maintained through systems, rules, and discipline. Cornelius Vanderbilt's story illustrates the danger of missing this lesson. A fortune built through relentless effort and visionary business decisions can vanish in a generation if no mechanisms exist to protect it. Meanwhile, families that focus on structured education and principled investment can turn wealth into a lasting legacy. The Vanderbilts remind us that money alone is insufficient. Without discipline and systems, even fortunes of unimaginable scale disappear. The Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and similar families prove that the right structure can allow wealth to survive wars, recessions, and generations of heirs. The secret to lasting wealth is not just earning billions, but creating a framework capable of preserving them long after the original builders are gone.